It says I have 27 minutes left to make this video. It says I have 27 minutes left to make this video. It says 27 minutes and 16 seconds. So I had 27 minutes, and I'm going to be 27 on February 19th. And I have 27 minutes. Ooh, no, my throat is actually dry. Let me look. Let me not think that it looks so dramatic. Let me try to do. But what I sometimes think about if I do have the marijuana is somehow maybe I think to feel some type of horror energy. Then I just start talking about if anything is negative, it would just be racism. And now I'm doing that now. But now, even if I do that now, it seems scary to think about. And I done said a lot. But now, if I were to think now to try and talk about it, it kind of makes me scared a little. So, like I said, like a lot. So, I don't know if there will be racism or not. But if there was racism, the people for the racism would get eaten up. Then here in Florida, they would get eaten up here. And people would buy them up at the Walmart and at the Thrifty. Then if there's racism, the racism people would go insane pretty horrible. Then I say the racism people would go insane horrible if Spanish people were to be talking and speaking Spanish. But the racism people, they'd be scared horrible at everybody. If it was any racism, the racism people would be scared of everybody that has skin color. Right, like they've had like the movie theaters closed and everything. Then like that Tubi's gonna be for horror. So I don't know if they's gonna do different versions, but the Tubi, then I think about a whole bunch of things that might could be for horror and different things that might could happen up. Right, like the Uber, that would be for horror. But what it is also true that the Uber would be, but the Uber would be for horror. And like it ain't for somebody just to say, oh, they just doing Uber for two rides, and then that's it. Like no, somebody have to do the Uber. That would be something that would be. So, but that would cause horror. And then like, but the Uber is for horror. Cause Uber is will be worldwide, and then it's gonna do Uber International driving. I would be an Uber International driver. I would do Uber International, then they's gonna have like 4 different like sets of Uber. They have Uber local, then they'll probably do Uber country. So somebody drive around the whole country they live in. Right, so somebody could drive local Uber local. Right, so I live here in Palm Bay. If I were to do that, that mean I could just drive everybody around, do Uber for the city of Palm Bay, in the city of Palm Bay. Then there's like Uber, like state by the country. Then there's a third tier to Uber. I don't know what that one would be yet. Then the 4th tier for the Uber would be Uber International. I would be Uber International driver. But a lot of women will be doing Uber. Ooh, excuse me. Right, so then the Tubi's for shocking. Right, but the Tubi is good. Right, then the YouTube, if they still have that up, I don't know what they's gonna make decisions about for that. Somebody have to just make decision or say something. Right, what about Netflix? Right, so Netflix was always for horror. So whoever did up the Netflix for horror. So the energy is somehow in some type of horror energy. Right, like then like what is I even talking about? Then like drug dealing. Then I think, oh, if there was drug dealing, like what would go on with drug dealing? That's what I think about. But I think what would really be so shocking, no matter. So even if it seemed like maybe general, or for it to be so shocking, maybe like then the food. Then if there was racism, there would be like racism industry working. Like that would be like right, like in livestock ranches. That's even to say within that world, or in that saying to say like racism working. So people having like livestock ranches. Right, then I've been saying if anything negative, wouldn't nobody for anything negative eat any of the food? Or if it's anybody negative, then they wouldn't eat any of the food. Then I've said some for one of the most horror things that might could ever be is if there was anything negative, it would be just for complete racism, for horror. And then the racism people would get eaten up, and the racism people would go insane horrible if they see anybody really that's living that got skin color. So they would go insane horrible, and then they wouldn't be able to know what anybody is saying. And then like they would go insane horrible driving. They wouldn't know what anybody's saying. Then if they see any people, they would be scared horrible, like frightened. And plus they would be like the racism people, if there was racism people, things for horror. The racism people would be in horror, like they would not feel good. So, and then like they wouldn't even be able to eat any of the food. Then if it's anything negative with any, I've been saying like if it's anything negative with anybody and they supposed to be a police officer, or if there was anything negative to be about that, I've said, oh, whatever police people, persons that want to be police but they want to be negative, they wouldn't eat any of the food. They wouldn't be able to drink water, eat any food, eat any donuts, or eat or drink any coffee. But maybe whatever police is they supposed to be rude, then maybe they wouldn't care or whatever. Then whatever that man guy thing that said, ooh, who would want to eat Little Caesars or whatever, they's gonna be like a horrible ass racism thing. Then I think about whatever like thing or whatever that was in that house thing over there, cause some ain't normal or whatever. Whatever is over there, some is not good or something. Then I think like that thing or whatever that was in there, they's gonna turn into a horrible ass racism thingy. Then I just think, right about if I played a PUBG, I played a PUBG. But I feel so tired, but I know like my character is good, and then I've thought for like the PUBG game, like different like thinkings that could maybe be about that game or could come about to really happen or to see. Record's already good. But right then, like I just really have been thinking if it's anything negative, that it would only be racism, and wouldn't none of the racism people, they wouldn't be able to eat any of the food, and then they would get eaten up, and it would be for horror. It would be to be said like it'd be one of the most shockingest things ever for horror, really, even maybe ever. Even still, it would just be one of the most for horrorest things ever. Oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Right then, like the racism people would be done up like differently in different countries. Right, so I've said here in Florida there'd be livestock ranches. What it is, I'm gonna try and say all this kind of quickly. This is what I've been thinking about, and this is what I've been saying. I've thought if there was racism for horrible here, the racism people that would be here would get eaten up, and then some would happen to some racism person thing. They get run over at the Walmart, get run over by some SUV truck or a car or SUV or both. Then they get caught up, whatever person get caught up in a tire or whatever, and that would be horrible. Then there would be some type of enormous trial about that. But the stuff would be for different language for the racism people, so they would be in complete horror. Then also, if it's anything negative, it would be for like different language for the racism people. Things they wouldn't know what anybody's saying. They would go and saying horrible. Then if somebody ain't good or whatever, then whatever parent thing they got or whatever get put on a roaster or whatever. Then somebody make a Snapchat video of the person on their parent thingy, where person racing thingy or whatever the fuck on wherever roaster getting roasted. Then whatever racism person thing see that's their parent thing or on a roaster. So what the hell would they do about something like that? What the hell you think would happen? But to say it would be the racism people thinks for horrible or whatever the fuck, what the hell would go on? Right then I've said, but here in Florida, right, the racism people get eaten up. They have livestock ranches. There will be certain happenings. And then, but the racism people would go insane horrible. They wouldn't be able to eat any of the food. There would be a time where they just all on the tablet only. Then they go insane horrible. It's just gonna be horrible. Then the racist people would go insane. They'd be scared horrible. Everybody's skin color that they got. And then they wouldn't be able to eat any of the food. And wouldn't nobody talk to the racism people. And it would be different language though. But wouldn't nobody talk to the racism people. And that's about maybe as much as I done said. Really, if it's racism here, what I've really said is it would be livestock ranches. Wouldn't nobody say anything to the racism people. The racism people would go insane horrible. They would be in horror. And they would be scared of everybody for everybody's skin color that they got. But then they might have different reactions depending on each race group. Then there would be racism restaurants. So there would be a racism restaurant. I've been thinking about this, maybe I said something about this 2 days ago. There would be like a racism restaurant in Orlando. They have like food there. Somebody know, maybe they have steak, bread, water. Right, but then they also had the racism people, and the racism people would get eaten up by snakes. So they would have the snakes there to eat the racism people, so people could pick whichever snake they want to see eat the racism people. Then they'd have this bigger type of area in the restaurant where a big ass enormous snake eat whatever racism people are. But it would be shocking, like the racism people would get eaten up by the snakes. But then also at that restaurant, right, and then they would let people choose like which snake they want to eat up the racism people. So somebody said, oh, they would choose whichever snake, then they choose snake, then they could see whatever snake eat up the racism people. Then they would also have the racism people there getting done up on the pots and the pans and be put in the microwave and all of that, and put in the kettle or the churner or whatever pot or pan. But that would be in Orlando. They would have a restaurant like that. Right, what I'm talking about is a restaurant that they would have in Orlando. And it would be for a racism restaurant. But then they would have the racism people there. And then the racism people would be horrible. They would taste horrible. Nobody wouldn't be like some type of complaint. This stuff would just be horrible. The racism things. And then like the snakes might have like reactions after they eat the racism people up. Because it's going to be horrible. So it would just be incredibly shocking. Right? So right here would be lifestyle ranches, restaurants for racism people. The racism people would be packaged up at a thrifty and a Walmart. They'd be scared horrible. Everybody, they would go insane horrible. And then they wouldn't be able to eat any of the food. Then in Texas, it's a little bit different. They would have all the racism people work at all the restaurants they got. That's why I've been saying if it was racism in Texas, all the racism people would have to work at all the restaurants that they got in that state. To say that's a state or their Texas, the state of Texas or that country. So in Texas, all the racism people is gonna have to be cooking up all the food at the restaurants. But they's gonna have to pay bills there. Do you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be hard. All the people like they would have to pay bills. The racism people that work in all the restaurants, they would have to pay bills. But they's only gonna be making, but they's gonna be actually making money. So they would get paid dollars and change. But how much money? And then they have to pay bills and everything. That's about as much as I've said for in Texas if there is racism. Then I said in California that all the racism people would work at all the stores that they have in that country. Or in California, in that state, in that country, all the racism people would work in all the stores that they have. So all the Walmarts, any store, any place that is deemed to be a store to say, and that's in that people are saying, or could say, all the racism people will work in wherever stores or wherever they got, all the stores they got. But in Texas, they's gonna be talking to the racism people. Here in Florida, nobody's gonna be talking to the racism people. In California, they's gonna be talking to the racism people. In New York, they would talk to the racism people, the people that live in New York. But the racism people would go insane horrible. Now I believe everywhere got to make a decision for what will happen. So if each country, so would every country, there would be a time every country, it would be completely different language to say the racism people wouldn't know what anybody is saying. Right, but I feel like it's for each country to make the decision what would attitudes be now in their country. So in New York, they would put that the racism people know what they saying. And then in New York, the people that would live there, they would talk to the racism people. Then in California, they's going to talk to the racism people. So the racism people know what they saying. In Texas, they really need to do for different language. But people would talk to the racism people. Now I have 7 minutes left. Right, so I've been thinking like, oh, if it was racism, what will go on? That's what I've been talking about. When I had a marijuana, then I know the marijuana is for shocking. So that's something else that would be for horror, the marijuana. Right, so that would be something else that would be for shocking. And if it's anything negative, wouldn't nobody eat any of the food. But it's for every country to make decisions for what they want if it's to say there's racism people there. So every country need to make the decision that they think would be a good decision. Right? So it's just so shocking. Then the snakes, what other things might be. But everything's supposed to realistically be regular. But here in Palm Bay, it's like work, life, living. So a lot of people work jobs. And people just go out, and even still, no matter, the energy is like always some like working. So now somebody could say that's the energy feeling here, working. Right, and then the energy here can feel like regular, then it feels shocking. So the energy is like regular, it's shocking, the energy is working. Now like they need to put some type of air supply or something out here. He's gonna have to put some type of air pressure system. I think so. Look at my arm. Look. Oh my god. I don't know what to do. Sorry. I don't know what's going on. Right, but now I got about like 5 minutes left to talk. So I don't know. I've just been saying if anything were to be shocking, like what would happen, but then I don't want to think that I'm thinking negative, or I gotta think to feel negative. Right, I could think, ooh, maybe what I'm saying sounds shocking. I don't need to feel like upset about it. What it is, some might would be horrible. What it is whatever that thingy or whatever is in there or whatever. Some ain't good. But what it is, like, I don't have time to even think to say that or whatever. Then I could just think, even still, I don't have to think about something to think to be upset. Or to even think to sound dramatic or something. Then I could just think, ooh, then I could just go like this. And then maybe I could think, ooh, maybe everything I've said sounds so dramatic. Ooh, look at my boobies. Wow. Well, there's just a few minutes left. I don't know what I'll think if I look at any of these videos. Like, I don't know, like, if I'll look at them and I don't know what I'll think. Like, what will I think? Because before, like, I didn't have maybe, like, all that marijuana in my system. But I could think, oh, maybe I had some of that marijuana, so my energy would feel shocking. So then I just think, I don't know what I'll think. I don't know. Then if I do think about that, should I think to be in a certain attitude about it? Right, like my energy, like I'm just feeling like so shocking. Like I gotta like hold on. Like now I'm feeling like so shocking a little. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna go on. Forget about it. It's to say, even if that video sounds so dramatic, things could be for shocking, for horror. So somebody really should just pray and just think to feel good. That's why I try to think to say, even now, I don't want to think to start yelling like, oh, because I could. But I want to try to just relax it because I feel so tired. I don't want to think to feel stressed out or anything. God, I don't want to think negative. I don't want to think not good. So I don't know. Now I got like 2 minutes left. Well, what's going to go on? But I don't know. And then I think also like, oh, do I think to be with a woman? Then I know I don't think hateful or anything. But I feel like I don't know what will happen. But I don't want to think negative. So I don't know. But then I think if I ever was with somebody, it wouldn't be just not anything happening. So something would happen. So but I don't have time to like think negative. So now I gotta think, oh, am I finna be with a female? Probably. Even if I feel like, oh, that might not will happen. And even if I say, oh, don't nobody know me. And I've been saying that. But now I gotta think I might be with a female woman. Like from all them, like similar to however some pictures is looking when I was on that Pinterest and everything. So I don't know, because what it is, like I'm not arguing any girl. Whatever it is, some girl's energy. I knew it. It's that Miss Luciana lady from that school. So you gotta believe it. And even if you think not, it's the bitch energy. And that bitch supposed to be from that Brazil country. But now that bitch want to come over here and hang out. But will it happen? Will it happen? Then I gotta think, what will I think when I look at this? Do I think I'm telling the truth? Then I don't have time to argue what I'm saying. I said I don't feel like arguing. So I'm not gonna argue up anything. So I don't know. I don't want to think negative. I just pray everything will be safe